Brother.
Oh yeah.
Brother.
Oh yeah. It is Thursday.
Thursday.
For a few more minutes. August 11th. It is Angelo's birthday, so everybody make sure to tell Angelo happy birthday. Find him on the streets, give him birthday punches.
Don't find me on the streets, but thank you.
No, find him on the streets.
Also, Hulk Hogan's birthday.
Yeah,
Brother. Share a birthday with brother. Indeed.
So yeah, this was the go home episode of Impact before Emergence. For those of you just joining, I totally forgot to say this is the Deep Six Wrestling podcast. It is the Impact Power Hour. I'm Ryan.
I'm Angelo.
Yep. And yeah, we're just going to get right on into this. I don't think there's really that much news to go over this week. The only thing would be at the end, we'll talk about they've announced basically their entire schedule for the rest of the year. So there's that. And they announced their next Impact Plus show this week. So yeah. We'll talk about that at the end, maybe, possibly. Anyway, before we go any further, make sure to follow the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast on social media on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. It is wrestling without the G. Also, feel free to subscribe to the podcast on any of the various platforms, and you can follow us on or subscribe to our YouTube, the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. You can watch all of our old videos, listen to some of our podcasts from the past. Watch punishment videos, all that jazz. So feel free to do that. Yeah. So I guess we'll start off, as always, with some BTI. I shouldn't say as always, when we feel like it.
Yeah.
And we felt like it this week.
Well, this week they advertised there's going to be Macklin versus Crazy Steve. So I was interested.
Yes. So there was some Iceman intel, and it was actually interesting. Iceman was at an airport. It didn't say where, but he said he was meeting a source, and that source told him that Doc Gallows has picked up an injury following his match with PCO, and that there are questions about if he will be available for Emergence, and if he cannot compete, who will Bullet Club bring in? So, interesting little tidbit. Finally, it's been a while since Iceman, I feel, has given us anything that actually matters.
That feels useful, yeah.
I definitely think, like, if you take out Gallows, I mean, there's not. I mean, they still have Hikuleo, who's a big guy who's gonna be in this match, but
yeah, but like this could be a built-in excuse for Honor No More to win.
Yes.
So
exactly,
which is interesting. I think that actually adds an extra element to this match now without Doc Gallows there to really question who could win.
Yeah. They are still advertising Gallows as that he's going to be in this match, but I guess we'll find out tomorrow if he actually is or if he's 100% for it.
Yeah.
We would get on the BTI, as we said, the match was Macklin versus Crazy Steve. When Crazy Steve makes his entrance, I don't know if you picked up on this, Angelo, but there is somebody who is screaming very loudly for Crazy Steve. This was their favorite person in the history of wrestling, and they're finally getting to see them.
Well, that's good. I'm glad someone is cheering for Crazy Steve as loud as he can.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard anybody get that excited for Crazy Steve, but like once the K's music hits and like he comes out, like there's just this audible like screech of like, yeah, Crazy Steve, and I was like, oh man, somebody's real happy about this.
Oh, it's good.
So yeah, apparently during this week on social media, they put a clip up of backstage Crazy Steve saying that Macklin can't beat anybody without the help of Moose, and Moose can't beat anybody without the help of Macklin. And Macklin walked in on this and challenged him to a match.
Well, he did like the Stevie Wonder type of line where it's like, I can't get a driver's license, but even I could see.
Yeah.
Moose are in cahoots.
Yeah. So. I don't think there's really a question of who was going to end up on top here. But this was a good match. Again, BTI tends to put on some decent matches. And as this one was.
And
It
about
also
50% of them, the men's ones, are decay matches.
yes,
So Crazy Steve is a regular on BTI, and the crowd was into it for sure.
yeah. And yeah, this was another match that actually has storyline implications with, as we previously talked about, the Moose Macklin, Sami Callihan storyline. While they didn't get involved in this match, it was because of that comment that Crazy Steve made that this match really got made. And yeah, Macklin picks up the win here.
Yeah, I guess here I can mention the YouTube comment we got from last week where a fellow listener mentioned, like kind of upset, I guess, with the use of Black Tourist these days. Like there's no kind of direction for him, and mentioning that because he is part of Decay here. And Decay, the men's side of it, they don't really do much besides, kind of they help progress storylines as like the jobber mid carder, that has some recognition in the name but doesn't win the match. So Black Tourist, he was signed last year, could definitely do a lot more. The commenter mentioned that like put Tarus in a tag team with Flamita, which I wasn't familiar with, but seems to be a well-renowned luchador.
Yes,
luchador,
yeah, in AAA.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, like, there's definitely moves you could do with Black Tarus to kind of make him more relevant, but I don't know if Impact is honestly interested. That's what it's tough to tell. But like what we saw. Pretty much every time he's out there, even like when if you watch the Ric Flair Fatal 4-Way, some of the stuff he did there was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's basically the role he has in Impact, is that he's just a really, really good hand that they can put out there. He's going to have a great match. And for like a plucky underdog person, it's like, oh man, they could outlast the Black Tourist, this big beef of a man. And then they can also throw him out there with the likes of Gallows, Joe Doring, the bigger guys.
Yeah,
just say like, hey, yeah.
And it's a formidable role in a wrestling company. Like you need those types of wrestlers that like can go out there no matter what, and the crowd respects them.
Yeah, agreed. And if you've listened to our podcast, you know that I'm a big fan of Black Taurus. And say basically the same thing, that like I wish he got some more time to shine, but when he's serving his role. But based off of the matches they've announced for the TV taping that will be happening Saturday, Black Taurus does seem like he's in a decent match that might have implications for maybe an X Division shot down the line based off of who else he's in the match with. It's been announced that him, Trey Miguel, Laredo Kid, and Ray Horace will be having a fatal 4-way match. Doesn't say for anything, but based off of it being, three guys who fit the X Division plus Black Taurus, who shows up in the X Division every so often. I feel like that would be a good way, since you've got a few weeks before the next Impact Plus show, which is Victory Road. They announced will be at the end of September, 2 weeks before Bound for Glory.
Yeah, which is that thing.
But yeah, we've got basically a month, a little over a month and a half before the next Impact Plus show. So Mike Bailey's, if he does retain against Jack Evans, which I assume he will need some competitors for that month and a half span. And I feel like this fatal 4-way could be a way to get us a matchup for the X Division title during that time. But that's just what I think. Again, probably not going to be Black Taurus based off of, it's Ray Horace's like Impact TV debut, but who knows?
I wouldn't even like look at that too much. I would more just say like maybe it's just a match for Trey Miguel to kind of boost him again, because he's taken a couple L's and they seem to view him very highly.
Yeah, but if it is for the X Division thing, I don't think they're going to give Trey Miguel versus Mike Bailey a third time.
They definitely shouldn't. So.
Yeah. This would take us to the main show. But thank you again for the comment on our YouTube. Again, we'd like to answer the questions that are given to us either on the YouTube, on Reddit, on Twitter, whatever we get. And we try to make sure that, we give our take either on there or on here. So please reach out and we'll try to feature your comments. This would take us to the main show, and the main show would kick off with, as commentary pointed out, a first-time ever match between Kenny King and Karl Anderson. Commentary says that it's very rare that you've got two guys who've been major players for so long that they haven't crossed paths before in singles action. But this is the case here. And also, this is the first time, I believe, that we've seen Karl Anderson in Impact wearing the Never Openweight Championship that he won from Tama Tonga at Dominion in June. So,
good point.
Commentary Tom Hannafin called him the champ. I think
it was fitting today because, this is him in a singles match, so him coming out with a singles title shows that he can do it.
Yeah, and of course, it also could imply that if Kenny King won, he would at least have a claim to having a shot at that title.
Very true.
For pinning somebody who has a singles title. This was we talk about this all the time that they like to kick off Impact with a pretty hot match. I thought this was probably one of the slowest matches for an Impact kickoff show, like the kickoff match.
Yeah, for sure.
In quite some time.
Yeah, I don't consider Karl Anderson. He's a good wrestler, but I don't consider him an X Division guy. And usually, no. And Kenny King isn't the at this stage of his career the most high flying X Division guy. Still great talent in the ring, but the combination of both of them, they're more viewed as I would say heavyweight division type of wrestlers.
Yes.
And, it performed as that type of match today. A little slower. They're both good veterans, so that makes sense.
Yeah. This match, for a lot of it, Kenny King and Karl Anderson were just kind of going back and forth with some grappling moves, trying to get the upper hand on each other, try to wear each other down. Commentary point out that Karl Anderson's knee was bothering him and that Kenny King was going after it the whole match, trying to counter it and trying to protect it the whole time was Karl Anderson, which for the most part he did, but he wasn't able to have sustained power, have sustained offense. This was probably one of the better portrayals of Kenny King. I felt like he had control throughout this match, compared to a lot of the other matches where we see he's just kind of there, filling in his role. But this actually made it seem like, hey, maybe Kenny King could beat Karl Anderson.
The past couple of months, Kenny King's definitely been portrayed better. He had a good win against Blake Christian to get, to keep his spot in the Ultimate X match. He's been portrayed a little better than he was originally, which is definitely a plus. So.
Yeah. This match ends with a really cool spot, actually. Kenny King goes for the Royal Flush, and as he is putting Karl Anderson through it, Karl Anderson counters it right into the gun stun to pick up the win. And then he goes to celebrate. He grabs his titles. He starts to walk out. Kenny King had rolled out and grabbed a chair and attacks Karl Anderson's weakened knee. He rolls him back into the ring, puts the chair around his knee. Looks like he's going to go for a stomp on the knee to take him out of action, like his commentary said, Rhino and the Briscoes. But Heath shows up, hits the wake-up call, runs into the crowd, celebrates with the crowd. I
guess thinking about this more now, that Doc Gallows could miss this match coming up tomorrow. I think Heath Slater is your plug and play, even though, there could be plenty other Bullet Club, like you said, Hikuleo.
That's fair.
Someone else that can come in, but I think Heath he's open tomorrow. So
yeah, no, that would also make sense. Which again, I think would be a wild situation to just be like, oh man, if you told me when Heath Slater got released from WWE that he would be tag teaming a few years later with the Bullet Club, absolutely wild stuff.
I agree with that.
Imagine Heath gets put in the Bullet Club.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna go that far, pal.
No,
I think there's a chance we get.
Hey
a
man, Jeff
match.
Jarrett was part of Bullet Club for a bit.
Jeff Jarrett seems to be a part of a lot of things, including beating up Beetlejuice.
That's fair. That's fair. And part of Ric Flair's possible final match, but possibly not.
Possibly not, because Ric Flair could still make money somewhere else.
Yeah, Ric Flair learned that people are really interested on what his next match will be, and that he can still make money even after his final match.
Yeah, I don't know,
man. After this, we did get our next match. We got a rundown of the card for the rest of the night, as well as the card for Emergence as it stood. This would take us to our next match, which was KUSHIDA versus Diener. I think when KUSHIDA showed up, a lot of people were like, "Oh, we're going to get him in the X division. We're going to get him, dream matches, really good matches with him and Mike Bailey, him and the top players of the X division." I don't think a lot of people thought we were going to get, him into a long-term feud, it seems like, with Violent by Design.
Yeah.
But that's what we're at.
And I'm okay with that. I'd rather, him kind of establish himself as an Impact regular rather than just kind of come in, face Mike Bailey, lose, and leave.
Yeah.
So, no, I'd rather him establish himself and maybe become a real threat against Mike Bailey, maybe a few months down the road.
Yeah. It definitely will depend on how long we've got KUSHIDA for. Since he is a New Japan talent. He does come out with his New Japan Titantron with the extremely long catchphrase of "the missing piece of the New Japan Junior Division has returned." It's such a long ass catchphrase.
Yeah.
But yeah, Diener and KUSHIDA comes out with Chris Sabin. Commentary says that Alex Shelley is preparing for his contract signing and didn't want to be disturbed or possibly injured by a Violent by Design attack, which makes sense because you never know where Joe Doring and Eric Young may show up and strike. Joe Doring was at ringside and did get involved a few times, but Chris Sabin kept on coming over and trying to challenge Joe to a fight, just showing that he's not afraid of anybody. KUSHIDA definitely did not seem to have the upper hand for a lot of this match. Diener, as commentary said, was showing off his maniacal and just dominant size advantage, which he's a little bit taller, not as much muscular, but he's definitely more of a, hey, I'm going to try to wear you down type of guy. KUSHIDA definitely is the bigger star by all means, but I thought this was a pretty good match.
This probably would have been better suited as the opener.
Yes. KUSHIDA does make a comeback towards the end of this match. He starts targeting Diener's arm over and over and over again. Sabin takes out Doring as he tries to get involved again. And this allows for KUSHIDA to pick up the win with a hammerlock fisherman suplex and pin Diener. This would later play out another moment backstage where Eric Young addresses Joe and Diener, talking about how they keep on saying that they're not infected with the sickness. They want to eradicate this sickness, but they keep on letting the sickness get the best of them. And so he might have to get involved to try to finish the job for them. Interesting. We know that Sabin and KUSHIDA will be facing Diener and Doring at Emergence tomorrow. Will Eric Young get involved? Will he come out with them? Who knows? But based off of Impact already saying that this feud basically is going to continue, at least for the next set of tapings. I assume Eric Young might make his presence felt.
Yeah, or at least set up a match, maybe him versus Kushida.
Yeah.
Victory Road.
Yeah.
If it goes that far.
Yeah. After this, we would also get another backstage segment. This was Brian Myers again talking about, his social media prowess. But Bhupinder shows up, gets in his face, and he demands a match.
I could have been a little sleepy, but did he say that guy was Pete Davidson?
Yes, he did say that one of the guys there was Pete Davidson. He might have said Skeet Davidson, like from the Swingers Dungeon skit.
Oh yeah, that would make sense. But that guy kind of looked like Pete Davidson.
Yeah, he wasn't very similar, but
yeah.
Bhupinder demands the match. Brian Myers says, "Hey, you've got to thin the herd still." Bhupinder says, "No, I'm not doing this anymore. You said that champions take up any challenge that they get. Well, I'm challenging you." And so Brian Myers makes it official that he will have his match, and commentary would announce later that it will be on the countdown to Emergence tomorrow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Will it be a screwy finish? Maybe.
Who knows? After this, we get Killer Kelly's in-ring debut.
Really a return.
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't seen her in a long time in the ring.
Yeah. I think this is more like the whole thing with Masha, where it's like she's finally actually signed. So it's her sign. At least the way that Killer Kelly put it on Twitter, it was her in-ring debut as a signed competitor.
Yeah.
So she made the little notice there.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. I mean, she's getting a direction now.
Yes. She is facing off against Tiffany Nieves, the OVW competitor that she attacked. What was it, 2 weeks ago at this point? Last week?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just a squash match, just to show off Killer Kelly's abilities, show off some of her signature moves.
To be fair, this showed off a lot to me, at least.
Yes,
Killer Kelly in her previous time was not really given a lot of rope to get crazy offense in.
Yeah,
and her offense, I haven't really seen her work really outside of Impact. It's very unique. I will say that everything she was doing, her movements in the ring, just her body movements, is something really Impact doesn't have right now in the division. So she's going to add a huge element to this division. She can really change pretty much the whole scope of how the women's division is.
Yeah, I'd say that her offense, her actual attacks, feel very stiff. I'd say much like some New Japan competitors, or even a little bit of Masha Slamovich, but she's also extremely technically gifted as well. So she's a mixture of a New Japan talent plus I don't want to say
for me it was
Danielson, but somebody who's really gifted at technical holds as well.
For me, it was intentionally stiff, 80s superstar stiff.
Yes,
and that, but with that, clearly she's technically gifted talent. Things flew very well with her, but it was kind of that pompous stiffness of 80s glow superstar.
Yes. Yeah. And it definitely fits this character of a killer for hire type thing.
Yeah, or out of her mind. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's also her with the mouth guard in her mouth definitely also shows that she can take a pounding as well. She's not afraid to rough it up with whoever gets in her way. So yeah. And she's back to doing indie stuff as well. She's been announced for GCW in a few weeks or months. I think it's September. She's teaming with Tom Lawler in GCW against Brian Alvarez from Wrestling Observer and Billy Starks.
Is that a match? Really?
That is a match.
Tom Lawler is facing Brian Alvarez.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Someone's gonna die.
Yeah. Should be interesting. And then she's also announced that she is going back to Germany for a few things. in October. So, yeah. This would take us to our next match, which is Madison Rayne versus Mia Yim. And as commentary said, it's a throwback to a few years ago for the world title, just minus Gail Kim.
But as we wrestling fans know, this is Madison Rayne's swan song.
Yes.
Impact for the time being, since she is now an AEW member.
Yeah. So. I just want to say, like, I think this was probably the best Madison Rayne match we've seen in quite some time. Singles match. Oh my gosh, yeah. And you can tell these two know each other inside and out. They were just ready for the next move right away. It wasn't like somebody who's like hasn't worked together and there's a little bit of sloppiness or people are waiting for the next move. It was just fluid motion throughout this match by both people. As we talked about, this is her swan song from Impact. Impact doesn't say anything here. It's not like they acknowledge that she's moving on. But yeah, I thought this was a really, really strong match. I thought Madison got a lot of offense in, and compared to some of her other singles matches, not including her squash match against Masha, I think you just have a lot of she was able to control a lot of the match compared to a lot of the other ones where it seems like she needs other people to help her get out of situations to pick up either wins or at least stay competitive in them.
Yeah, I do have some disagreements with this match compared to you. I mean, Ian looks strong. Madison, I thought was like a little lethargic at times. I think like that's just like how she is as a talent. Like, she's a ring general. She knows her moves. She knows what she's doing. That's why AW is hiring her as a coach. But I think in execution, she was a little slow and just kind of took her time. It kept it at a safe pace. She's a safe wrestler in general. But she had a safe pace just in comparison to you watch Killer Kelly out there and she was high action. So I think in a way you could say out with the old, in with the new, with the type of wrestler you're about to get in the women's division in Impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Mia Yim does pick up the win with the defeat. This is the end of Madison Rayne for now in Impact that we know of. Afterwards, Mia Yim would be backstage. She bumps into Jordan, who congratulates her on her win and says she hopes that she's still focused for her match against Jordan tomorrow at Emergence. Mia says she is. She's always focused on it. And Jordan says, well, it's good that you're finally focused on trying to win a match because, when we tagged together, we didn't win matches. To which Mia says it takes two people to win matches in tag matches, and it takes two people to lose. And I know that you're just another obstacle, and don't worry, I'm going to beat you down. Because you're not as strong as you think you are. So I didn't realize that they had multiple tag matches that together, but they did. They also lost to Savannah and Tasha a few weeks before the Queen of the Mountain match.
That makes sense.
Yeah. After this would take us to our X Division Championship match, another open challenge. It is Speedball Mike Bailey versus Rocky Romero. But the caveat here is that the winner of this will go on to Emergence and face Jack Evans for the title. I thought this was a really strong match again. It's Mike Bailey. He's been extremely good since showing up. And Rocky Romero is always a fun time to watch.
Yeah, Rocky Romero is a good plug and play, and this was a good match, basically, to get Mike Bailey ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, Rocky's older guy. Didn't think he's going to win, but he's going to put up a fight, and that's exactly what he did. Rocky constantly kept on trying to get under the skin of Mike Bailey. He kept on trying to work his legs so that he wouldn't be able to go up to the top rope to hit Ultimo Weapon. Romero got him outside the ring, hit him with the Tope Suicida, and then kind of guarded one of the ring posts. Mike Bailey then went to kind of do one of his like really like karate type kicks, but just instead wipes out, hitting the ring post square with his bare foot. That's gotta hurt. There's no padding on the bottom of your foot. This would allow Rocky to take some control here. Speedball also did hit a springboard moonsault during the spot, these segments as well, which looked really good. Romero would end up hitting a running sliced bread, which would get a near fall. And eventually he would go. Mike Bailey would get control again, try to go for Ultima Weapon. It failed. Rocky got put the knees up to prevent it. He would then go with the running lariats that he does. Mike Bailey would get out of this with that spinning kick that he does, and that would land, set up Ultima Weapon for the win. Rocky and Mike would give a fist bump to each other. Rocky would raise his, Mike Bailey's hand, and yeah, all good stuff. I thought this was really good.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm very interested to see what we get out of Jack Evans versus Mike Bailey. It's been a while since I've seen a Jack Evans match, since, he hasn't been on TV or he hasn't been in Impact for quite some time. He hasn't been on AEW for a bit now. So it'll be interesting to see what he's up to, how he and Mike Bailey mesh together, but it should be a good time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the top of Jack Evans' moveset is high flying. So
yes,
I'm sure we'll see a lot of that tomorrow.
This would lead us to the main event. It is the Josh Alexander and Alex Shelley contract signing. Scott is officiating it, overseeing it. He makes sure that everybody is aware that he is really proud of this main event that they're putting on tomorrow. He's very proud of both these guys. He's helped. He feels like their growth has been phenomenal over the years, and he's been able to see both of their careers for majority of it. So they both come out, and I thought this was a really good segment. Impact can be a hit or miss when it comes to these contract signings. I thought this was definitely a hit. I think when you get these contract signings, a lot of times you're like, oh, well, you're going to just get a brawl at the end.
Who's going through the
table?
Yeah.
What shenanigans are going to happen? That's not what we had here. We've got two baby faces here who are just trying to get the best out of each other.
And they're both well respected by the crowd.
Yes. It was interesting that both guys kind of traded barbs here and did get the crowd to boo them every so often with some of the barbs they gave with not Mike Bailey. Josh Alexander starting it off talking about, Alex Shelley keeps on talking about all these guys in my range that he helped create. Alex Shelley says, what's the difference between you and everybody else that is like an Alex Shelley clone from your group? And Josh Alexander says, well, for one, I'm more of a Chris Sabin guy, which I thought was a good one. Also, Alex Shelley kind of plays some really good insight here, talking about how, I've got you can be at the best. I'm going to be at my best. I've had my injuries, and I know you've had a lot of similar injuries, but I also know you've had even more injuries that are much more debilitating. Kind of playing off that role of, his other job is a physical therapist. So he's going to know the damage that these things can do. And that's why he starts talking about, hey, I know that your neck is being held together by titanium plates. You're going to have to get serious surgery, physical therapy to get those fixed so that you can live a normal life. Yeah, I know you've had multiple ACL tears. I know what that does to you. It's not good. It doesn't mean that your knee is magically stronger. It means both your knees that you've had ACL injuries on are going to need knee replacements before the age of 60, and I can help wear them down even more. I thought those were really, really intricate.
It was an intelligent promo from Alex Shelley, and and he did touch on like he knows like he's been back and forth between like being a pro wrestler and not being a pro wrestler. He does have another career in his life.
Yeah.
So that was a good point. That like kind of is the difference between him and Chris Sabin. Like Chris Sabin is an Impact lifer. Alex Shelley has never really been that.
Yeah.
But he's been there. He's been there for big moments. Obviously, it was part of Motor City Machine Guns. Has won the X Division title himself, but he has won the big one because he hasn't really put himself in a position where the company trusted him to be there and be the the Impact world title holder. So
Josh says you've never been able to win the big one because you, even at your best, you're not capable of doing that. So I need you better than your best. Alex Shelley kind of throws a little bit of shade at Impact, saying, they've never given me a shot until me versus Chris Sabin a few weeks ago. And once I finally got that shot, I succeeded in it. And now I'm going to succeed again at Emergence. I want to see the best that you've got. I'm going to bring the best. But when I stand across from you in the ring, I'm not going to see Josh Alexander, the Impact World Champion. All I'm going to see is another Alex Shelley mark, and the best you're going to get is this. He signs his name on the contract and says, "There's your Alex Shelley autograph that you've always wanted," and he walks out of the ring. I thought that was a great ending to this segment.
Yeah, clean ending. No one goes to the table. Both men showing each other respect, essentially. Yeah, I will say the Impact flashback moment of the week was a Sabin versus Shelley. It was interesting that they showed that. I mean, like, obviously they're trying to build up Shelley for this match coming up, but Shelley has only beaten Chris Sabin, including what we just watched, this year, twice, I think, in singles matches.
Yes.
Impact. So they showed his other win. He rolled him up for the X Division title, kind of tricked him. So I think that maybe shows an element that, Alex Shelley does have a devious side that he's going to do whatever it takes to win here. He wants this Impact World title, and he's not going to get this opportunity again, and he knows it. So he'll pull something out of the sleeve. They didn't, they're not going with a heel turn with him. That was my hypothetical thought. Was like, if you want to really get people invested into this match, you turn Shelley heel. But for the purpose of keeping together the Motor City Machine Guns, and then him and Kushida. What is that? The Time Chasers.
There's Time Splitters.
Time Splitters.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense for the long-term type of stuff to make them heel and then have them switch back all of a sudden. So, I mean, you got these two going at it. They just respect each other a lot. But I think, the Impact moment of the week shows Alex Shelley can, do whatever it takes to win a match.
Yeah, and we've seen that even this year. Him and Mike Bailey at Multiverse of Matches. Alex Shelley kind of brought out this healer side of him. He was just taking it out on Mike Bailey whenever he could. We've seen it with him and Jay White, even when they had their match earlier this year. That Jay really brought out like a darker side, a more like physical side of Alex Shelley. So he does have those moments. We've seen it this year, and I'm sure we'll see some more of it tomorrow at Emergence. Overall, I would say this was a great way to send us to Emergence tomorro.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good show. It felt like a quick show, but it
did feel like it flew by.
Yeah.
So that will take us to Emergence tomorrow. As of right now, we've got 9 matches. We've got 2 pre-show matches that have been announced. They are Bhupinder Gujar versus Brian Myers for the Digital Media Championship.
I guess while you say the names, we could just give our predictions real quick.
Yeah, I'm going Brian Myers for that. I think Brian Myers is going to retain. All right.
Just to see what happens. But I could see how they could have a screwy finish and Brian Myers still wins.
That's fair. The other match that's been announced for it is Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary with Jessica versus Vexed, Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green for the Knockouts Tag Team titles. I feel like it's going to be Vexed.
I feel like it's going to be Vexed too. I think there's no reason not to have Chelsea and Deonna with their momentum get a title.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The rest of the card, we've got Sami Callihan versus Steve Macklin. I feel like it's going to be Macklin. I feel like Moose is going to get involved here.
Yeah, Moose might get involved. I got Sammy because
That's fair.
Won against Crazy Steve.
That's fair.
Process of elimination.
That's 100% fair. We've got Violent by Design versus Sabin and Kushida. I am going to go with the surprise win for Violent by Design.
I agree with that. I think that helps extend the feud.
Yeah. We have our AAA special matchup between Bandito and Ray Horace. I'm gonna go with Bandito since he was the former ROH champion this year. And there's rumors that he's signing with Impact.
Yeah, I don't know enough, so I'll go with Bandito as well.
There you go. We have for the Knockouts title, it is Mia Yim versus Jordan Grace. I am gonna go with Mia Yim.
I'll go with Jordan. I don't know. I could, ask you in 5 minutes, I might change my mind.
I'm at the same point. It was a flip of a coin for this one.
Yeah, I'll go with Jordan because it's been a short reign, and I mean, Mia could win, and she'd be a good champion going into Bound for Glory or Victory Road first. But maybe this leads to another match later.
Yeah. Bullet Club versus Honor No More in a 5-on-5 anything goes match. If Honor No More wins, they get a tag title shot. If they lose, they have to disband forever. I am going with Honor No More.
I think I'm going with Honor No More if Doc Gallows is going to be out.
Yeah. X Division title match, Mike Bailey versus Jack Evans. I'm going Mike Bailey.
Mike Bailey.
And finally, main event, Josh Alexander versus Alex Shelley for the world title. I am going with Josh Alexander.
Yeah, undoubtedly Josh Alexander here, I think.
Yeah.
But the beginning of the card has a lot of potential title changes. So
yes.
This is not just a chalk, wrestling card for sure.
Yeah. They haven't announced anything for next week, mainly because it hasn't been taped. It is being taped next week or on Saturday, but they've announced a shit ton of matches for this weekend. They are only taping 2 episodes, I believe, because the next set of tapings is August 26th and 27th. But yeah, they've already announced Mia and Jordan versus Vexed again. We have this 6-man elimination match. Doesn't say what for, but a 6-man elimination match between Bandito, Moose, Steve Macklin, Eddie Edwards, Sami Callihan, and Rich Swann. Based on the players, maybe it's a number 1 contenders match.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a very stacked lineup for that match.
Right, that is.
Heath versus Kenny King. Killer Kelly versus Savannah Evans, which I think plays along with our thought that her first feud is going to be with Tasha Steelz.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Violent by Design versus the Motor City Time Splitters. It's all 3 of Violent by Design versus Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, and Kushida, which was part of the reason why I'm going with Violent by Design, because there's no reason to continue the feud if Kushida and Chris Sabin win.
Well, there would be a reason because Eric Young comes out and beats him up,
that's fair.
That's why it could flip either way.
Yeah. Black Taurus versus Laredo Kid versus Trey Miguel versus Ray Horace. Mike Bennett versus Karl Anderson with Maria and Matt Taven, which makes it seem like they are getting their tag shot.
Yeah.
And a special AAW heavyweight championship match. AEW is a promotion in Chicago. I guess this is their home base since it's in Chicago. It is Matt Fitchett, I've never heard of, who's defending his title against one called Manders of the Second Gear crew. He's part of the Second Gear crew in GCW. Okay. But I don't know if they're part of Chicago, this promotion too. But that's where I know him from. I've heard him. But a lot of matches that have been announced for 2 weeks.
I'm all for that going forward. Like they did it with the OVW kind of tapings where they had Shira wrestle Josh Alexander. Like, feature the local champions. I'm all about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see, 2 guys who aren't signed for a title. I mean, I'm assuming that since it's going to be in Chicago, it's a way to generate fanfare.
Yeah,
that people who are a fan of that product will show up to see that match.
For sure.
So yeah. Again, like I said, this should take us to the August 26th and August 27th tapings that are in Dallas. Yeah. So that is it for us tonight. I will be doing a review for Emergence probably after it airs, but probably won't be posted onto the podcast feed or anything like that until Saturday at some point. Rob will have his weekly SmackDown review tomorrow. Also having my NXT UK review some point tomorrow or Saturday as well. And also this weekend, make sure to look out for some more G1 reviews from Pat as the G1 continues, I believe, Saturday. And again, we did do predictions for that. Don't know what there's no punishment. Don't know what the prize is. I think it's like 1 bonus point, or you get to avoid a punishment later on. But it's been very close between everybody. So
yeah,
I
was real close, and I got a dud of a day.
Hey man, I've had 2 zeros on that in this tournament, so
everyone's prone to it, definitely.
Yeah. As Pat said the other day, he went from from tied to first to last place by himself to 1 or 2 points off of second in the span of a week. So anything can happen. So yeah, enjoy yourselves, enjoy your weekends, stay safe. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.